One of the things Billy talked about is the tetrahedron spinning in opposite directions. Now, if the tetrahedron facing down represents the feminine energy and the tetrahedron facing up represents the masculine energy, what does masculine what direction does the masculine spin in and what direction does the feminine spin in? Counterclockwise, clockwise, like how does that work?
Yeah, the top is spinning counterclockwise, the bottom is spinning clockwise. So you're going to see this duality in everything throughout the known universe, even in the spiritual realm, higher dimensions. You're talking about a counter-rotating. So, if you look at quantum entanglement, if you have two atoms that are quantum entangled and you have one on the other end of the universe, the one that's close to you, if it's spin rate up and you ping it with a photon to make it go spin rate down, the one that's on the other side of the universe will instantly go spin rate up. And if that one goes spin rate down, the one right by you will go spin rate up. So it's this, there's this duality, but there's also this counter mechanism that allows things to be virtual opposites. And so it makes sense that the Merkabah, being a virtual representation of yourself, also has the same duality built into it. And it has this locomotion or this this ability to fly or move through dimensions. And the method being used is this movement or this spiritual rotation that it generates. It's really incredible. I mean, you have this upward spinning and this downward spinning. You have the duality built into it. It's mind-boggling.
This is the law of opposites, Billy.
Yeah.
It's the law of opposites. Yeah. So you gotta remember, the chaos energy is pure feminine energy, undeveloped. Right? But masculine energy is pure mental energy, focused and concentrated. That's why they say men are mental and women are spiritual.
Yeah.
The goal is to take her chaos, organize that energy, right? Learn how to use it and don't allow it to abuse you, because the energy will whoop you from pillar to post if you don't know how to use it. And it's coming in, it's gonna come. So when we're looking at the opposites, we look at the South Pole, North Pole, the hemispheres. When you in Australia, the water go down the drain counterclockwise.
That's right.
But when you in the northern hemisphere, in America or Europe, then the water goes down clockwise. Right? Yeah. This is where the duality comes in, because everything converge on the center. That means the further you're away from the center, the wider you'll spread.
Yeah.
Right? So as you get to the center, you also get to what's called the pivot. Absolute zero between the two.
Yeah.
At that point, this is where the flip takes place. This is why the mirror is in effect. Right? It's metaphysics, it's quantum physics. We just using conceptual physics to try to explain the mathematical formulas without using all Einstein numbers, so that regular people can grasp it faster.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. Yeah.
Since we're talking about spinning, one of the things in certain spiritual communities, I think the Sufis, what's called the
whirling dervish.
Whirling dervish. Now, if we're talking about spinning and important, and everything is vibrating, everything's spinning, and they're doing this dance, what's whirling what?
Whirling dervish.
Whirling dervish.
It's an effect of Sufism.
Children love to spin. They love to spin. They love to get dizzy, then they fall out, and they have a ball doing it. What is the spirituality behind this, and what is there something they're not telling us about? If our subtle body is spinning, what is happening when our physical avatar spins at the same time?
Well, it's something that's naturally innate in us, because we're talking about a universe that's all in motion. Nothing stands still. Nothing can reach. The reason why we can't reach absolute zero under natural settings is because of the vibration and the movement of the atom. Everything's always moving. Everything's always creating friction. If you want to look at why we spin and why we enjoy the spin, well, if you're in space and you take flour. Let's say you had flour. It could be anything, but let's just take flour. Cooking, regular old baking flour. And you take that flour and you open it up and release it in front of you. Something interesting is going to begin to happen. You're going to begin to see it start spinning. It's going to create something called an accretion disk. It's the same way our solar system was formed. The gases that were blown out from a dying star with the heavier elements and everything else begin to create this gas that begins to spin and create friction. The friction generates heat. The heat creates new stars. Those new stars then, when they expand out from nuclear fusion, create more debris and dust that then continue to spin and turn some of those turn into balls of moons, planets, and so forth. And so this is a natural format of creation throughout the known universe, spinning. The electromagnetic fields, they whip and spin. The iron core at the heart of the earth, which is spinning, is helping to generate this electromagnetic field. The torsion fields that are naturally in existence, spinning fields of energy. And of course, you know, the spinning balance. So the earth is rotating on its axis, right? And this is giving it the top, like it's like a top, right? This is that effect, that inertia effect that it has to keep everything balanced. So it doesn't surprise me that spinning feels good to us, that spinning is exciting and exhilarating, that it makes us feel free, because we are already spinning. It's just part of what's already innate inside of us, and it's giving us this stability and this balance in space-time.
Does this go ahead, Ron, I'm sorry.
You know that whirling dervish practice, where it came from?
Where?
It was a matriarchal priestess dance they used to do.
Yo, for real?
The whole Sufi order, right, is the priestesses. What they used to call them in the area that Sufism emerged was the daughters of Allah, but they was here before Allah. Right? And this was part of the sacerdotal era of the divine matriarchs ruling the earth. Somebody had to practice until the women remembered that that's at 90 and old. And the women used to do it. You had the water tribes where they would do theirs with wet gowns on, wearing all white. Fire tribes would wear the red gowns, and they would set the edges of their gowns on fire.
Yep, true.
Right?
Wow.
The earthen ones, they would still spin, but they would use brown garments or darker colored garments, and they would have like fur or something around the bottom of theirs. But it represented all of the different quarters of the circle, the sister circle. And so the Sufi order responsible for all of the women's rights that came out of that area, because they have to keep the practice alive in order for the patriarchal regime, right, to be possibly taken over. They can't take it over if their ritual is not practiced. They got a National Geographic special on Sufis. When they do their Sufi rituals, they found that they artificially increased the output of the mitochondria.
Wow.
Men can't control it. We were recipients. So they can only hold it for so long. Right? And then it dissipates and the original frequency of the biology comes back. But during that high output of mitochondria, it's a euphoria called bliss that exceeds that of any drug. Now you can't, heroin ain't gonna give it to you, crack ain't gonna give it to you, fentanyl ain't gonna give it to you.
This why kids love doing it, right?
Yeah. So the euphoria that comes with it is because the ritual, the spinning ritual, Atlantean ritual of matriarchal priests was to keep the field of the earth in the feminine field of love, peace, and harmony. But when the patriarchs took over, any of the women got caught doing that, they executed them.
Damn.
Bringing in disorder, entropy. Everything moves from an ordered state to a disordered state until something comes back in and resets it all over again, right? And if you think about it, we have atoms, and we're made of atoms. And what orbits atoms? Electrons orbit atoms. And so electrons spin around the atoms. Planets spin on their axes, right? And planets spin around the sun. The sun spins around the galactic center of the Milky Way galaxy, for example, in our galaxy. You have DNA, which is a helical spinning structure. So this spinning, this centrifugal force is just part of balance, you know? That's what it is.
Yeah, you just you talking about, you know, the matriarch's ride, it just make me think about back in the day when we used to slow dance. You know, people don't slow dance that much no more, but you twirl,
not like we did.
You twirl your lady around. You twirl your lady around. You don't see that no more. And she's as happy when you twirling her. She's as happy as can be, man. Wow, man, this is there's science.
You see it in square dancing too.
Oh, the square dance, yeah, the square,
yeah. Do you see it in jazz dancing too?
Damn.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, when a group of women perform that whirling dervish dance, and they represent all four tribes or four quarters, it creates a field. They like Tesla coils. They sync up, and then this love blast go out. And they can hold it once they lock into it. And every woman they can encounter after they leave that space becomes infected with that high vibrational mitochondrial resonance.
Wow.
Earth angels.
This some deep shit here.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
Since we talking about, you know, the patriarchal regime that Rod mentioned, just a question I want to throw out.
Enlil did it.
Oh man, and he did it
flat out. He the one put it. He imposed it. It was his edict, his order.
You sure?
Yeah.
Was there a name for this edict order? Or?
Well, he took over. He tried to take command from Enki, and in the process, in order for him to take control, he have to conquer Inanna, his sister. But he got to contend with the fact that she's married to his other brother. So now it's a sibling rivalry.
She's married to who?
Enki.
Yeah, they shared a sister. They shared a half sister.
Well, that's 2/3 of the royal hierarchy off Nibiru. Of the offspring of the first family.
Yeah.
That came to Earth.
Hey, is it possible if the Merkabah is say it's a 3-dimensional version of the saying as above so below? It's a 3-dimensional version of that. Is it in the tetrahedron facing up represents the male principle, the one facing down represents the feminine principle. Is it possible, talking about the patriarchal regime, that they purposely mistranslated as above so below? Is it possible that it used to be, because I've heard this before and I thought about this concept, that it used to be as below so above? Is it possible that they may have changed it to put the male principle first before the feminine principle?
That's a good question. From my perspective, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but from my perspective, my understanding, it seems that it makes sense as above, so below, because we start off with the macro, and as you go to the smaller and smaller scales, you continue to see the whole in the smallest piece, which is how they describe the definition of an actual fractal. That's actually the actual definition of a fractal. Now, again, that is the mainstream definition of a fractal. From my perspective, the way my brain works, it makes sense that you go from large to small just to identify the metaphor, the understanding. But once you get to the smaller and smaller parts of the fractal holographic matrix, it then begins to become very intricate and very complex. And then once you seep into the quantum realm, then all of a sudden, now you're tapping into the science that explains spirituality. So on the massive scale, you're looking at, clusters of galaxies and universe and all the planets and matter and mass within. But on the smaller scale, in the quantum realm, things get really weird, even though you can still see the as above, so below. Like, for example, we have planets orbiting our sun in our solar system, and then all of a sudden you go down to the subatomic world. You have electrons orbiting an atom in the quantum world, both operating on totally different scientific properties, but still having such similarities metaphorically. And so the smaller you go, the more incredible things become. And when you get to the quantum field, now you're looking at the science that explains what's happening in metaphysics and spirituality. That's kind of the way that I see it.
Rod, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I kind of see it similar because we're going to